Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing really well out there today. In this video, we're going to talk about a couple of different applications that are kind of, one is an evolution of the other, both by the same developer. And you may have heard of the first one, and it's called Moodist. It's been around for a couple of years, and it's a cool app that, if we take a look at, there we go, let's do that. If we take a look at the GitHub repository for Moodist, basically, it's ambient sounds for focus and calm. And I'm not sure if you've seen this. If you haven't, we're going to take a quick look at it. But basically, ambient sounds for focus and calm, like it says. But it's got different ambient sounds in here. Persistent sound selection, meaning you can kind of build the sound profiles that you want, the soundscapes that you want, and save them for later. You can share those with other people. There are custom sound presets, sleep timers for sound. So if you wanted to, say, listen to this at night, you absolutely could, and then it would shut off after a period of time. We've got Notepad for quick notes, a Pomodoro timer. I know a lot of people like to use those. Simple to-do list, media controls, keyboard shortcuts, privacy focused with no data collection, and completely free and self-hostable. In fact, if we come over to here, this is my self-hosted instance of Moodist. Again, this app and the evolution of this app are both created by the same developer. But basically, just to kind of jump into Moodist just for a moment here, right? It says there are 84 sounds available. And I want to make sure that this isn't going to be too loud, but let's say you like the sound of a river, right? We can click river. And there you can hear just a nice, calm stream or river or whatever. If you wanted to, you could turn that up a little bit. Maybe you like the idea of camping and maybe camping next to a river. And of course, with camping comes campfires, and you can add that. And of course, you can mix that as well so that you can kind of get the balance that you're looking for how loud is the river, how loud is the campfire. You can add wind to that if you wanted to. You can favorite these if you wanted to do that, so that they're more readily available up at the top if you want to use those elements more frequently later on. Of course, if we scroll down, there are more things. There's waterfalls and walking in snow and walking on leaves, gravel. We've got more rain-related things here, light rain, heavy rain, thunder. I'm a big fan of thunder, so maybe we add that to the mix there. Let me see if we can, I don't know if it should be, we can kind of turn that up a little bit, and we can add thunder to the mix there as well. And of course, as we go, there are just more and more and more things that we can add to this. I'm going to pause this for right now so that I don't have to worry about it later. But of course, there's animal sounds with birds and owls and frogs and crickets, if you like those sorts of things. There's a little support thing kind of mid there. I don't hate that. If you like the sound of roads and highways and ambulance sirens and busy streets, not a big turn on for me as far as what I might put into a soundscape, but they're there if those are your sorts of things that you like. Maybe you're from a big city and you moved away and you miss the sounds of home. You can create that for yourself. Cafes, construction sites, churches. The church is actually kind of a pretty sound with that. Again, we've got more transport stuff with trains and sailboats and all kinds of things here. And then when we get to the bottom, there's a bunch more information about what's going on here and how you can do different things with this. And I love how simple and easy it is to use here. What I also love is that, if you're playing this, we've got a river and we've got a campfire here. We can come over to the little hamburger menu in the bottom right-hand corner there and say your presets, and we can save this as camping, just as an example. And we can click save there. And here we can see that I've also got a light storm saved as well. If I wanted to switch, I can just switch over, and now we've got a light storm going on instead of being at our campground. Overall, I really like this application. I'm actually going to pause that. I'm going to just unselect all those sounds and kind of just get rid of everything we've got there. One of the other things that I really like about this is some of the other features that we mentioned. We can shuffle sounds. Of course, the presets we looked at. We've got our sleep timer that was mentioned. We've got a countdown timer where you can put in hours, minutes, and seconds. I kind of wish those were labeled, but it's not a big deal because this app is being replaced, right, with Haus. I bring this up because maybe you want this layout versus the Haus layout that we're going to look at here in a little minute, in a moment. But you know, a Pomodoro timer, we've got that as well, with some different things that we can do in here to change our specific needs for these things. Close that out. We've got a notepad if we wanted to just, you know, leave a note for ourselves. And we can either copy this or we can download the note as a text file, or we can just delete it. So I kind of dig that. Just a very simple note-taking application, just if you need like kind of a post-it note kind of thing throughout your day. We've also got a to-do list if you wanted to add a to-do list or have that available to you. Or breathing exercises. I think it's kind of neat. You can do inhale, exhale. You can change your breathing pattern from a 4-7-8 to box breathing to resonant breathing. You can kind of pick and choose which of those you want to use as well. We've got binaural beats. We've got isochronic tones. We've got lo-fi music. I believe this one actually plays, music from Lo-Fi Girl, just kind of by default. And then we got some shortcuts, global volume, and then a couple of ways to support and view the source code, that sort of thing over here on the GitHub repository that we were looking at a moment ago. And what I love about this is how easy it is to deploy. If we look at the Docker Compose here, that's it. Like that's really all there is to this. Of course, this is a bit outdated. This first line here. Service is Moodist. Here is our image that we're using for this, being pulled from the GitHub container repository. We've got logging for options, our max size for that. It's 1 gig, restart policy, but always, and then ports of 8080, both inside and outside the container. Of course, if you needed to change that for some reason, if you're already using 8080, you would just change the first half of that line, but never the colon or anything after it. In fact, if you come up to here, we can see that I'm on port 8080 there because this is a Proxmox LXC that I've deployed. But that is Moodist, right? It's kind of a cool interface. I love what it does. I love how it works. But the developer recently, about 3 weeks ago, I meant to make this video sooner, but a little behind the curve here, about 3 weeks ago said, hey, we've got an alternative to Moodist from the creator of Moodist here. And he kind of explains more about that. And I'll have links to everything in the video description. Of course, you can't see that. I apologize. Here is that Reddit post from about 3 weeks ago saying, introducing Haus, an alternative to Moodist from the creator of Moodist. Again, with more information about that. And then, of course, he's got a link where you can try it out for yourself or jump over to the GitHub repository. And so I was like, yeah, let's take a look at that. So I deployed Haus, and this looks very different, right? We've got our ambient sounds, we've got breathing exercises, countdown, Notepad, Pomodoro, or to-do checklist. And what I think is kind of cool about this setup, and I think this is where you can kind of pick and choose which version of this you like more, is that, we can click open, and right here, there's our ambient sounds, and we can kind of drag this around. And we can, of course, we've got all of those same sound options that we had before, but it's all fully opened up. So there's no like click here for more. Everything is available here, and I'm a big fan of cats. So maybe we'll have that. We can come back up and let's do a little bit of a rainstorm with our cat there. And there we go, right? And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we can adjust the volume on each of these things as we want to for our particular needs for whatever soundscape we're creating. But in addition to having this little window open, maybe we also want a Notepad window open, and we can drag that over to here. And maybe we also want our Pomodoro timer open so that we can remember to take breaks and do those sorts of things. Well, now we can build our own little dashboard within Haus so that we can build our custom soundscapes, make sure that we're taking the breaks we need, and keep notes at the same time. Again, there are other things in here like a to-do checklist, countdown timer, breathing exercises, those sorts of things. And I like that they've kind of broken this out more into a desktop style application here so that so that you can have everything open and kind of have access to everything without little pop-up windows taking over, like we saw a moment ago when we were looking at Moodist. But again, there's lots and lots of options in here. I don't know. One of the things I guess I'm noticing here is there isn't with this new version. There's no way, from what I can tell, unless you do this maybe. I hadn't thought about it, but there's no way to favorite things here. There's no way to save the soundscapes that you've built with Haus. Unless I am missing something, which I always admit is a possibility. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you want to be able to build your own soundscapes and have them for later, Moodist might actually be a better option in that case. Also down here at the bottom, like we're seeing, we've got white noise, I'm guessing pink noise, and then brown noise. But we can't necessarily see that because this little thing here is in the way. So more or less the same thing, but this gives us more of a dashboard interface versus what we've got with Moodist, which is not quite as dashboardy, but still has all of the same functionality and maybe a couple of additional things with the binaural beats and that sort of thing. If we take a look at the GitHub repository for this, we'll see the updates on Haus have been more frequent and more recent. But if we scroll down and look at our Docker Compose here, it's exactly the same, service. So this is Timesy instead. I don't know why Timesy is the name of that service. Maybe they should fix that. But again, GitHub container repository under Awesome, under Haus for the image there. Same logging options, same restart policy, same port. Here we can see this is still 8080 on both inside and outside. But you'll notice here I'm on port 8081, and that's because I changed the first part of this port line to 8081. If we come over and take a look at my GitHub or at my Proxmox setup here, if we take a look at if we cd into Haus and then do an ls, and we can just do a nano Docker Compose. I could have done a cat on that, a cat Docker Compose, but this is fine. Here we can see that I just changed that right there. And of course, once you've got your Docker Compose, the ports here change to what you need them to be. We can exit out. We can do Docker Compose up-D, and we're up and running just that quickly and easy. Obviously, because I've already downloaded the image. So that is both Moodist and Haus. I think they're very cool projects that each do the same thing, but a little bit differently. And they have different features available to them. But again, same end result with what we're doing here. And I love that. The one thing I haven't looked at here, I'm back to my desktop and we take a look at the images. Moodist and Haus, they're both like 180 megs. So not going to take up hardly any space on your setup. And of course, I love when an image can have a lot of functionality and be very, very small. So let me know what your thoughts are about both Moodist and Haus in the comment section down below. Would love to know your thoughts on that. Again, links to everything will be available in the video description. So definitely check this out if you're looking for a project like this to maybe increase your productivity or just have some background noise to help you get through the day. I think with that said, though, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me here today. I'll talk to you in the next video.